This Land Battleship is a 2020 Rolls-Royce Cullinan Black Badge. Over 6,000 pounds of rolling luxury that new in 2020 would have started at $382,000, with this particular example featuring an additional $40,000 in options. Furthermore, as a Black Badge, it means this one features more power under the hood and more modern styling. You can find this Cullinan Black Badge for sale, heading up for auction on Bring a Trailer, where it will be selling with no reserve as offered from Casio Motors. The first place we have to start is the doors, because they're incredible. As we go to open the door in classic Rolls-Royce fashion, they'll stay wherever you leave them, which is a nice touch. As you go to get in the vehicle, the doors are quite big, cumbersome, and kind of heavy and can be hard to close, so they've made them power doors. You can simply close them with the touch of a button. But wait, there's more. As it comes to closing the doors from the outside, if you don't close them all the way or don't close them hard enough, the car also features soft close doors, so it seals the door the rest of the way for you. But wait, there's more. As we come to the back of the rear door is actually rear hinge, which makes it easier for getting in and out of the vehicle, whether that be yourself or with your chauffeur. And if we go ahead and climb on the inside, of which there's a ton of room back here, you can also close the rear door via a power-operated switch. That closes nice and easily, and when it comes time to actually getting out of the vehicle, whether that be on your own or with the help of a chauffeur, if the chauffeur opens the door for you, they also have easy access to this umbrella in the door, which of course has a Rolls-Royce monogram. And when it comes time to breaking out the umbrella, you can also option it, in this case in white and black. This was a $1,500 option, and then the chauffeur can cover you as you exit the vehicle so as to not get wet or into any less hospitable environments of weather, which is a nice touch. But wait, there's more. When it comes to closing the door, you have another method. You don't need to use all of your force to close the door. You can simply give the door a push and the car does the rest. How cool is that? The doors on this car are incredible and unlike anything else on the road. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Rolls' first SUV, which has a very large and imposing presence. And the name Cullinan comes from the largest diamond ever pulled from the earth, which I think is quite the fitting name for what might be the most luxurious and quite possibly one of the largest SUVs on the planet, as a Land Battleship weighing in at over 6,000 pounds of nothing but rolling luxury. The Cullinan also happens to be the first ever all-wheel drive Rolls-Royce, sending power to all four wheels, which is very, very impressive as well. And it doesn't stop there, as the Cullinan is one of the best-selling Rolls-Royce models ever produced. That's right. Going back to the beginning, this is one of the best-selling Rolls-Royces, and it makes sense with all of the luxury that they've managed to pack into this vehicle. Now, this particular example happens to be finished in Arctic white, and as a Black Badge example, what they've done is they've toned down some of the bright chrome work you'll find on the standard vehicle, which gives it more of a modern look to it that I think personally looks way better and has been appealing to younger buyers for the Rolls-Royce brand. For example, as you take a look at the large Rolls-Royce grille, you can see it's more of a darker chrome, and same goes for the Spirit of Ecstasy, which of course is electronically activated and can actually be hidden under the hood of the car if you're worried about it, and of course has those safety features that supposedly will withdraw the system in if it feels it's being tampered with or stolen, or if you just don't like it being up, you can lower it as well. As you can see, the side of the vehicle as well, things like the window trim would also normally be bright chrome and lots of bright coach lines and all that, but you won't find that here on the Black Badge. It goes for a much simpler, more subtle look, which I think does a lot of wonders for the styling. As you take a look in the front here, you have some extra features like the Rolls-Royce laser headlights, and that's not just a cool name. These laser headlights are actually more efficient than LEDs, and they are a more focused, brighter beam that can see much further down the road. And you can combine that with the fact that this one also has the night vision system to make for easier and safer at night driving, which is very, very luxurious. As we come to the side of the vehicle here, you can see those electronically regulated doors that we talked about earlier, which is very, very nice. Rolls-Royce badging here on the fender, nice body color mirrors that have integrated cameras, and then of course the wheels and tires. 22 inches here on the front, and you can see the Rolls-Royce emblem in the center, which is essentially on a gyroscope with a weight at the bottom so that it always stays upright even while rolling, which is a very nice feature. Behind that, you can see the very large Rolls-Royce calipers and brakes to bring this thing to a stop. And you'll find a similar setup here in the rear. Again, 22-inch wheels and tires there with massive brakes. Now, underneath, there's some really cool stuff happening here. It features an aluminum chassis that actually has independent air suspension with electronically adaptive dampers. And that air suspension helps with self-leveling the vehicle. If you have a heavier load in the back, it'll auto-level itself out. But you can also manually control that air system to lower or raise the vehicle, which allows it to make it easier for getting in and out of the Cullinan as well, which is a very nice touch. Another cool thing is with all of the technology in this vehicle and the electronic dampers, there's actually a camera system in the front windshield of the vehicle, which will monitor the road in front of the vehicle and automatically prepare the suspension system to compensate for it. Furthermore, here in the back, the Cullinan also features four-wheel steering. So not just the front, but the back will also turn. At low speeds, it helps with maneuverability to make tighter circles or U-turns, for example. But then at high speeds, it helps with stability on the freeway to make the ride smoother. And notice the filler is here on the back. Then as we come to the backpack of the vehicle, they give it this iconic styling, which fits well within the Rolls-Royce lineup. That almost makes it look as though it has a luggage pack here in the back of the vehicle with the twin exit exhaust. And again, simple but very imposing, luxurious and opulent styling. The back hatch can be opened through the key, which actually opens both of your hatches, the top and the lower sections, which can also be power closed individually. And on the inside, you get access to a fully carpeted rear hatch trunk area here, which also has a variety of different controls. Some of your space is lost to things like the wheel wells, but you also have a lot of functionality, including more of those rear speakers and even more power controls. Power controls like the one on this side are actually responsible for lowering the seats. So as you can see there, you can power fold both of the back rear seats here, and then when you fold those, you are left with this gap here in the back. Well, there's actually a button for that. You can actually raise this carpeted section here so that it matches the contour of the floor, making it easier to load or unload items. That is something I've never seen in any other SUV other than the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which is probably something only Rolls-Royce could think of and add in. And of course, when you're done, you can always power raise these seats as well back into position so that you have full use of your second row, or leave them down for cargo capacity, whatever your preferred method is for operating your Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Under the hood is the smooth and silent Rolls-Royce twin-turbocharged 6.75-liter V12 engine, which here in the Black Badge produces 592 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque, an improvement of 29 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque over the standard Cullinan. The V12 is paired with a ZF 8HP 8-speed automatic satellite-aided transmission, which can use driver behaviors and GPS mapping data to ensure the correct gear is pre-selected for the road terrain. Power is sent to all four wheels via permanent all-wheel drive, a first for Rolls-Royce. Weighing over 6,000 pounds with vast amounts of power, the Cullinan is no slouch, achieving 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat with a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour. Given the specs, fuel economy is impressive as well, with an EPA estimated 12 miles per gallon city, 20 miles per gallon highway, and 14 miles per gallon combined. Next, let's move on to the interior, which in this particular vehicle is finished in Arctic white with a secondary color of black, which gives this car a very, very cool two-tone tuxedo-like interior that is, of course, full of rich and luxurious soft touch materials throughout, and there are no skips on anything anywhere. Now, inside is also where you'll find the variety of options for this particular vehicle. First and foremost is the driver's package, which, as the name implies, makes this thing more luxurious and better to drive, and that sets you back $23,000 with things like active cruise control, night vision, and all sorts of types of luxuries. Then, if we take a look at the actual roof of the vehicle, you can see that, of course, we have the Starlight headliner, but that's not all. This particular vehicle has an option that is new from Rolls-Royce. That is the $7,500 Shooting Star headliner. That doesn't happen very often, but occasionally you'll see shooting stars that actually go across the top of the vehicle, vehicle. Just like the real things, they're kind of a rare sight, but a very cool upgrade. Then additionally, and certainly not least, are the optional lambswool carpets. These very thick but very, very soft carpets that may as well be the thickest, softest carpets ever added to any vehicle from the factory. Now, as you take a look, the interior theme goes throughout the entirety of the vehicle. Another nice touch is the backlit Cullinan Black Badge plates here, which are very beautiful to look at. Then the doors themselves, again, just covered in leather with nice soft touch materials to rest your elbow on, whatever the case is. Nice door handle here up top. You actually the actual door handle itself. And then here you have the bespoke audio system, which is an upgrade from the standard system as part of the driver's package for better sound systems. And you also have your rear hatch release. You have a metal adjustment here that you can change from the left and right side for your power mirror adjustments, or the option to fold them in, along with all of your power window switches and even the disabling feature, with a nice pocket down below here where you can store items, which even inside again is all leather throughout. You can see here you have a nice rest for your foot in addition to the pedals themselves. And as you take a look, of course, everything is fully adjustable, and on the inside as well. The seats have all sorts of adjustabilities, including the ability to actually extend the seats so you can get as comfortable as you want inside the vehicle, in addition to the standard adjustments as well. I also want to point out that below the seats, you also have your memory settings here, in addition to the actual massage functionality for the vehicle, which gets brought up on the inside for your various adjustments. Now, as we climb into the vehicle itself, in order to close the doors, because they open quite wide and can be quite heavy, you have these controls here in the top, one for the driver's side, one for the passenger side. You simply hold that, and the door closes and seals you inside the Cullinan, which is quite possibly the quietest interior cabin on the planet. I mean, you cannot hear anything outside of this vehicle, including road noise. Now, as we take a look at the interior of the vehicle, over here on the left side, you'll find all of your headlight controls in addition to your engine start-stop, your electronic brake, and even your parking lights, along with your night vision controls as well, as you can see here. Then, as we take a look in front of the driver, we have the main Rolls-Royce steering wheel, which, as I mentioned earlier, is electronically adjustable for whatever you like. Then you also have your active cruise control settings, which is an upgrade from the dynamic cruise control that's available standard here, thanks to that driver assistance package. And over here on the right, we have some of our infotainment and volume adjustment knobs. On the back, there are just two stocks, the one here for the turn signal, obviously. Then on the right side is actually your driver controls. And the way this works is you actually pull it down to put the vehicle in drive, and you can see it electrically illuminated here in the back. And then you push it up, and that puts the vehicle into reverse and brings up your cameras with all of your camera options, which is quite luxurious. And then to put it in park, that is the button here on the end. You might have also noticed this low button. That's kind of an interesting button. Now, there are no drive modes, if you will, but the low button is essentially like a sport button. It's illuminated when it's on, and what that does is it essentially revs out the engine more, providing more power and torque for longer, essentially making the vehicle a little bit more engaging like a sport mode would, but a regular sport mode is not very posh or very luxurious for a Rolls-Royce. Here in the middle, you might notice that they look like analog gauges, but they are in fact all digital, and so you can see a variety of different things that can be changed there, including your power reserve, which essentially is how much power is available depending on how you're using the gas pedal. You have your speedo in the middle, which of course has sign recognition and a digital odometer down below. Then on the right side, you'll notice your fuel gauge, which also shows you the various drive conditions of the vehicle, in addition to the outside ambient temperatures, and a digital clock addition with the vehicle's running time. It may be hard to see on this camera, but you also have a heads-up display, again with that stop sign recognition, and a digital readout of your speed, which is a nice luxury. Over here in the middle, we have our main infotainment digital display. As you can see, it still has the rear view cameras up, which can easily be adjusted, and you manage that through all the dials here in the back. And it has the Spirit of Ecstasy, which does not move as you adjust it. And if we go back to the main menu here, you can see the logos even have Rolls-Royce Cullinans on them, which is a nice touch. You have a variety of My Vehicle settings here throughout, which you'll also find for the actual Spirit of Ecstasy settings to raise and lower it. And you also have your navigation, your media and radio with Bluetooth, smartphone integration, of course, Apple CarPlay, and then you can also see all of the various other options that are available for the vehicle. Below that, we have some quick navigation buttons down here, so you have things like the skip, all beautifully integrated. Below that, you have some very massive vents for your climate control, your volume adjustments, your hazards, and even your central locking system. And then here in the middle, are the main climate controls, and this is particularly luxurious, and here's why. Of course, it's dual zone climate control, we expect that, but the actual speed controls of the vents themselves are individually operating, meaning you can have different fan speeds and different temperatures for both the driver and the passenger of the vehicle. Dual zone climate control is something that exists in other vehicles, but they never let you control the fan speed separately for each side. That is very, very luxurious. Here in the middle, you'll find your heated controls, your ventilated seat controls, and even your heated steering wheel. And those are available for also the driver and the passenger. We'll talk about the rear here in a sec. As we go down below that, this is a nice nod to Rolls-Royce models of the past, is actually the way you adjust your temperature controls as you see here. This is something from the older models, and they integrated it here into the Cullinan. And then below that, you'll find your additional controls for your climate control system right here. Below that, this is actually where you'll find your cup holders, and this can easily be stowed away when not in use to make it look prettier. And then below that, we have a lot of those controls for the infotainment in the middle, as I mentioned earlier. You have your parking assist controls here, and then here are the air suspension controls. Now what you can do here is you can actually raise or lower the vehicle depending on what you might need to make it easier for getting in or out, or if you need more ground clearance. And of course you have options to get easy access to the camera in that central infotainment. Over here on the right side, this is an SUV and as such features an off-road mode. The off-road mode is pretty straightforward. You push the button, the vehicle tells you it's in off-road mode, and it even automatically raises the suspension to the highest level. You can also find out if you're in the mode via the illuminated display here in the driver's display or the button itself. Additionally, to support the off-road mode is a downhill assist, as you see here, to let the vehicle cruise down so you can focus on navigating whatever you're driving through. Behind that, you do have this additional storage cubby that could also be fitted as an ashtray, I suppose. And then behind this, in this very nice leather-coated armrest here, is actually a storage cubby. And in there, you'll find a wireless charger in addition to your auxiliary outlet. And as we close that, you can find the passenger side mirroring the driver's side, with the exception, of course, the glove box and the fact that they get the clock, but you'll still find the lambswool mats and all of the comfortable amenities, including the massaging controls and even the memory settings for the passenger in the door. As I direct your attention to the roof here, here's where we have a lot more luxury. You can see just how thick these actual sun visors are, and the cool thing is when you lower them, you can see the light is separate, and the minute you actually open your mirror, the light automatically illuminates, which is a very nice touch. Now moving back to the center here, these lights are actually individually operated, so you can see here, if you go ahead and touch this, that is just the driver's side light, and if you touch this one, it illuminates the entire light, which is very, very cool. And below here, we actually have the controls to turn the starry roof on or off, and over here is the actual brightness of the roof itself. Then of course you have SOS buttons, some more speakers, a nice perforated roof with the fiber optics for our roof itself, again with that shooting star system that was a luxury option. And what makes the interior so special is all of the choice. Things like the lights, the individual finest adjustments to the temperature control are things that you can't do anywhere else except a Rolls-Royce. And the luxury of choice and the materials that goes into this vehicle is what makes it so special. Moving on to the rear of the vehicle, you open the door, and of course it is rear hinged, and as soon as you open it, you can see just how spacious the back seat is. The idea being, while you can drive this vehicle, especially equipped with the driver's package, it can also be used as a chauffeur vehicle. In this particular case, this vehicle features the bench seat layout, which of course is better suited for families or just hauling more people in general. As you take a look, it has all of the same themes that you see in the front of the vehicle, just spread through the back with its own unique touch. As you see here, for example, you see more of the speakers for our bespoke audio system, a similar gorgeous finish throughout the vehicle, lots of leather and more nice soft touch materials, including the same backlit illuminated door sill here, and then even their very, very soft lambswool carpets, which are even more enjoyable here in the back seat of the vehicle. Now, I do want to point out that some of your seat controls are actually located down here, in addition to a charger, which is a nice touch for people wanting to charge their devices here in the back. Now, first, one must climb into the back seat, which is quite easy to do, and as you can see, there is a lot of room. To close it, you have your own controls over here on the side. You simply hold the door button and the rear door closes for you, or your chauffeur can close it, whatever your preference is. And then next to that, you actually have a button which actually separately adjusts the headrest in the back, which is a very cool, power luxurious touch that of course is monogrammed just like the front with the Rolls-Royce logos. As we take a look here, you do have a lot of vents to keep you nice and cool or hot, depending on whatever temperature you need. And of course, they even have their own controls located here in the bottom. You get the same thing, their own vent control speed, which again is a pretty luxurious touch. You don't always get that, and even in very, very new vehicles. They actually get heated seats for each side of the vehicle and their own temperature adjustments for each side. So in that sense, they do get their own dual zone temperature control here in the back as well. The other cool thing is right in front. You have these picnic tables. Now these are actually power picnic tables. You touch this button here and it folds down so you can neatly do whatever you need to do, whether that's business items or even having lunch in the back. You can easily do that. When you're done, they power fold back up, and you have one of those on each side of the vehicle. Up here, of course, the headliner extends all the way back, so you see more of those stars and even the shooting stars, if you will. And then up here, you of course still have controls for the headliner itself, for your main on and off button again, or your brightness adjustments. And then over here, you have your light controls, similar to the front, where you could turn on just your side, or you can illuminate the entire panel, which is a nice touch. So the option of choice is what really makes this so luxurious. And the amount of legroom here is just unbelievable. Even the actual height of the vehicle, as you can see, I'm 6 foot even for reference, and I'm not even close to touching the roof of this thing. And then once you start to option in all of the adjustments that can be made to this particular vehicle, just about anybody can fit back here, and fit back here more comfortably than just about anything on the planet. It really is a very special vehicle. You can see the way that the seats even wrap around here to make it as comfortable as possible. Finally here, if you only have 2 people in the back, we have our Black Badge logo, but you can actually fold this down. Now, of course, you could use it like an armrest here, but you have more options. You have some cup holders integrated into the middle there, and of course, here in the back, you have a nice pocket. But furthermore, if you fold this part down here, you can essentially use this as an access port through to the back, or you can just use it as another armrest, if you will, with the carpet on the back of the vehicle. So that is a quick look at the overall layout in the back seat of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. So what's it like to drive the Rolls-Royce Cullinan? First, pull. Okay, so obviously speed is not the main focus of this vehicle. That being said, the Black Badge with its power increases is quite quick, especially for a 6,000-pound vehicle. This thing doing 0 to 60 somewhere in the under 5-second range is quite quick. And I think the benefit of that and all the power, and especially the torque that you'll find in this particular vehicle, means that you'll never have any issues accelerating, whether that be uphill, whether that be with a vehicle full of people and cargo. None of that would be a problem here with the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which is a great luxury feature. The last thing you want is to feel burdened by the way your vehicle drives. The first thing you notice, I think, when you start driving it, aside from just, the power and how fun it is to drive, is actually how quiet it is. I'm going to turn off the turn signal here for a sec and turn off the AC. Nothing. There is zero outside noise inside of this vehicle, which is very luxurious. And obviously that's a huge benefit, right? Some people might say whenever you're on road trips, the outside noises ruin things, or just the pure opulence and luxury means if you wanted to sit in silence in this vehicle, you can. There's not really any other vehicle I can think of that lets you do that other than Rolls-Royce. And so it's a very special experience being able to just sit in silence. Or if you want it to be loud inside the vehicle as well without it emanating into the exterior, then of course you have that upgraded sound system in this particular Rolls-Royce, which comes from that driver's package, which is very, very nice. And again, that driver's package does things like give you the night vision, the active cruise control, things which are nice to have for long drives and road trips. This vehicle is extremely comfortable as the driver. Now the back seat is most definitely the place to be, but in this particular vehicle, this one has the heated and ventilated seats up front along with the massaging seats in front. And so this one was equipped to be driven, and that's not the case for all of these models, but this one in this case is suited to be best off for the driver. And it's quite nice the suspension has so much going on too, and the transmission for that matter. Both the transmission and suspension are actively working to improve your experience. So you have the fact that the transmission is trying to shift based off the GPS, and the suspension is constantly looking ahead of where you're driving to actually figure out what the best way is to adapt the suspension and make it as smooth as possible. And quite smooth it is, so smooth in fact that you can enjoy some open drinks in this vehicle without getting tossed around, and that is all very, very impressive. Not to mention the driving feel of the vehicle. The vehicle has a high up seating position, and the vehicle itself being quite tall gives you a very high up prominent approach, almost as if you are in fact in the top tower of a battleship. It gives you that very imposing look. Now, the benefits of that being you can see far ahead in traffic. It feels quite easy to navigate the vehicle. You can see where the vehicle is with the way that the hood in itself and the curvature and the sharp lines gives you a better approximation of where the wheels are on this particular large vehicle. Now, from the driving experience itself, it is a large vehicle, but it doesn't feel large to drive. It feels quite nimble. Now, some of that is thanks to the way the power steering has been tuned for this particular vehicle. The steering's quite light, so light in fact that I would say I could actually turn with just my pinky, which is quite impressive. But then obviously with the maneuverability being improved as well, it doesn't feel as heavy as it is. And so that's some of the magic that's been worked into this vehicle. They've created something that is pleasurable to drive. It's effortless, it's luxurious, with all the amenities that you might like that allow you to focus on the finer things in life. Not to mention the fact that nothing feels like it's in the wrong position. You have these nice big mirrors, which make them easy to see out of. The windshield and everything feels appropriately sized, along with the heads-up display. And again, just all of these things that you could modify or change in other vehicles, but in the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, they've created a system here of luxury. Everything works seamlessly, and then you have all of the options for fine-tuning adjustments, and so that's what makes the Rolls-Royce Cullinan a Rolls-Royce. Additionally, despite having a V12 under the hood and weighing 6,000 pounds, the surprising fuel economy figures I find quite impressive. Now, I'm not able to test if it actually gets that fuel economy. We'll have to trust the EPA on that one. But it is all quite impressive with this vehicle. Now, lastly, I want to mention that, of course, if you like what you see here, this Black Badge is for sale. You can find it heading up for auction on Bring a Trailer, where it's going to be selling with no reserve as offered from Casio Motors. So with that, that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it and could leave me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it, and consider getting subscribed for more content like this in the future. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.